Here are the actual steps, the concrete steps to self-advocate. This is part 3 of a 3-part video series on self-advocacy and recovery during COVID-19. My name is Jessica Scalzo with Compassionate Peer Counseling, a peer counseling service for anyone working to recover from an eating disorder and related issues such as anxiety, depression, control, perfectionism, and so on. I also work with athletes because oftentimes athletics intersects with eating disorders, along with the pressures to be the best and to strive for excellence. Let's get started. I already covered in the last 2 videos. Video 1, we'll link right here. That one covers why self-advocacy is so important in our recovery from an eating disorder and any other behavioral health issue. And then the second video, we'll link it right here. That one goes more into depth into the empowerment and the self-determination that is a result of self-advocacy work, and also why in stressful times it can still be difficult for us to get our needs met and to self-advocate. Let's get to the steps. The first thing we do in self-advocacy work is to look at and take stock of our strengths. What ways do we already like to communicate? What ways do we often already use to communicate? For example, do I like to write things out? Do I prefer to do that and maybe send a letter? Do I like to talk to people on the phone? Do I often talk to people on the phone? Do I really prefer face-to-face meetings and really connecting with people one-on-one? Maybe I really like connecting with people one-on-one, but I get really nervous and sometimes that just really overtakes me and I can't necessarily say what I want to say. So if I had a support person with me, that would really help me to work through the self-advocacy process. Other strengths can be community resources, either resources that we have available to us that we can use, or community members, friends, family members that we know that can also help us. So taking stock of those strengths is the first step, so we can decide what are tools that we already have that can help us go forward in our self-advocacy process. Let's get to the steps, the actual steps. Steps number 1, define the problem, the issue, or the need. This is where we need to get clear. We may have many needs, and most oftentimes we do, and that is fantastic. That's completely normal. When we self-advocate, we want to get specific. 1, we need to pick one need, and then 2, we need to be specific about that need. Make it objective, make it measurable, make it clear. That makes it easy for me to deliver, and that makes it easier for someone to understand what I'm saying, and actually makes it easier for them if they have to talk to other people to work through the process to actually get the need met. Step number 2, do research. Has this been something that people have had an issue with in the past? How have they gone about trying to resolve the issue or get their needs met? Who are some people maybe that have done this that I could talk to or reference? What are some organizations maybe that could help me to point me in a direction or give me some tips? We can really gain some more information on top of our strengths that we already have. Step 3, find the gatekeeper. This is going to be the actual person that we're going to deliver our message to. It might just be one individual, but it also might be an organization or a company. And if that's the case, then what we do is we go to the lowest person in the hierarchy. And unfortunately, things operate usually in a hierarchy, so it's not a knock on somebody, but we want to start with the lowest person because they're usually the easiest to have access to, and most importantly, if we need to do some more work, we can go up the ladder from there. Step 4 is to write it out. Even if we're not going to deliver our message by a letter, writing it out really helps us to make sure that it's clear, to see if we've missed anything, and to actually kind of memorize what we're going to say so that we can have some more confidence when we're delivering our message. Having it written out can also be useful for role playing. So we can decide, hey, I want to work over this, what I've written down here, and delivering my message with somebody that I know. This can help me also to gain confidence for when I really do deliver my message. Step 5, deliver the message. This is what I've been waiting for. Deliver that message in whichever way you've chosen to deliver it. Step 6. Now this is the tough one, and one that we don't often want to discuss. How to handle rejection. Important fact, rejection is normal. It's going to happen. It happens to all of us. It will continue to happen to all of us, and it's nothing personal. A lot of times with self-advocacy work, because I've mentioned in prior videos, it's a process, it takes persistence, and sometimes getting rejected over and over and over again. And so we can have a plan beforehand how we want to handle rejection, or we can decide later if we get rejected, okay, now what do I want to do going forward? Sometimes I may have felt really strongly about something when I first started my self-advocacy process, and then at the end, when it had gotten rejected and the need wasn't met, I may decide, you know what, it's not as important to me as I thought it was, and so I'm just going to leave it be. If we decide that no, this is really important, we can try again. We can look for another person, maybe higher up. We can decide maybe to change our message slightly, or to work with other resources that we think might be more helpful that we didn't utilize the first time. And then the 7th step, which is my favorite step, is to evaluate our efforts, evaluate our process. So we look back and we look at how was our experience with self-advocacy. What things really worked out well for us? What did we think we did strongly? What things didn't work out so well for us that we weren't very pleased with? And this is where the magic happens. This is where the growth happens. This is where we learn and build to go forward. This is where the empowerment and the self-determination comes in. This is a crucial part of the whole process, and a part that I would recommend making sure to adhere to. Do not skip this step. That is self-advocacy. And the gift really is in the process. And we're continually learning, like I said in prior videos. It's not something that we're necessarily born with or that happens overnight. It takes consistent practice. One thing to keep in mind is that when we're doing self-advocacy work, the old beliefs may come up. And I know particularly for me, one thing that kept me from doing self-advocacy was the belief that I'm not good enough, so I don't deserve to have my needs met. Those were some of the beliefs that were actually guiding my behaviors and stopping me from doing this work. And so these things may come up, and it may be uncomfortable. And just like in other activities or other processes that we do, we can notice that it's coming up. We can allow for it to be there. In my case, it would be anxiety, maybe some fear. Bring compassion to it, and then still decide to go forward because we value speaking up for ourselves, and we value self-caretaking, and we value authenticity, and so on. There may be many other values that are leading you to do this self-advocacy work. Let's just revamp real quick, go over what the steps were. Step number 1, well, first off, evaluate and take stock of what are our strengths. And then step 1 is name the problem or the need, define it. Step 2 is to do research. Step 3, find the gatekeeper. Step 4, write it out. Step 5, deliver the message. Step 6, decide how to handle rejection. And step 7, evaluate our efforts. I hope you decide to use these tips and they are helpful to you and they also aid in your recovery. If you'd like to do more of this work one-on-one with someone, please don't hesitate to reach out to Compassionate Peer Counseling. We'll put the website here below, www.compassionatepeercounseling.com. Thanks for your attention and take care.